Welcome to The Explainer. There's this hidden language that's pretty much all around us. I'm talking about in advertisements, news headlines, even in the way a product is packaged. Today, we're going to dive into a really cool idea from Roland Barthes, his concept of myth. And trust me, it's an absolutely killer tool for decoding the world we live in. Okay, so let's just start with this super simple question. When you hear the word myth, what pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably, gods, heroes, maybe some ancient Greek monsters, right? And yeah, while most of us are thinking about those ancient legends, the philosopher Roland Barthes, he had a much more radical idea. For him, myth isn't some dusty old story from the past, not at all. He saw it as a type of speech, a very specific way messages are built and fired at us every single day. Barthes basically said, hey, hold on a second. He argued that literally anything can become a myth. A car, a hairstyle, a news headline, you name it. The key for him isn't what the message is about. It's all about how that message gets delivered. It's a particular kind of form, a specific way of signaling meaning. So to really get a feel for this, let's look at an example that Barthes himself used. It's this cover from a 1950s magazine, and it shows a young black soldier saluting the French flag. Now, on the surface, it's just a picture, right? But Barthes saw something way, way deeper going on here. It's a bit of a mystery, and we're definitely going to come back to it. Okay, so here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to cover what a myth is today, then get into its secret two-layer system. After that, we'll deconstruct a myth, see how it turns history into nature, and finally, figure out how we can all become mythologists. Let's do it. All right, Section 1, Myth's two-layer system. This is the secret code behind all those everyday messages. See, the key to Barthes' whole theory is that myth isn't just a simple message. He thinks of it more like a parasite. It operates on two levels, and it literally hijacks an existing message for its own ends. So to get how this hijacking works, we need a quick tool from a field called semiology. It sounds complicated, but it's really just the study of signs. Barthes built his entire theory on this foundation, and honestly, the basic idea is pretty simple. Any sign is made up of two parts. Okay, check this out. Let's take a bunch of roses. That's the signifier, the physical thing itself. The concept it makes you think of, romantic passion, that's the signified. Put them together and you get the sign, the roses as a symbol of passion. See? Pretty straightforward. Okay, but here's where it gets really clever. This is the trick. Myth comes along and takes that whole completed sign, our passion-filled roses, and it just steals it. It uses that whole thing as the building block for a brand new second-level message. And this table lays it all out perfectly. Look at level 1, the basic language system. You've got your signifier plus your signified, and that equals a sign. Simple. But then, boom, look at level 2, the myth. The entire sign from that first level gets sucked up and becomes the new starting point, the new signifier, or what Barthes calls the form. Then it gets injected with a totally new concept, and that creates the final powerful message, the signification. All right, Section 2, deconstructing a myth. We're going to put this two-layer system to the test. So that's the theory, right? Now let's see how it actually works in the real world. I think the best way to get this is to take our new decoder ring and apply it to some of Barthes' own examples. Okay, so picture this. You're a student, and you're reading a Latin sentence in a textbook. It says, Quia ego nominor leo, because my name is lion. Now, the first level meaning, the literal story, is about a lion. But is anyone really learning about lions here? No way. In the context of that textbook, the original meaning gets totally hollowed out. The entire sentence becomes a container for a new idea. I am a grammar example. The real message, the myth, isn't about the lion at all. It's about the lesson being imposed on you. Okay, let's get back to that mystery we talked about, the magazine cover. Barthes describes it really simply, just the literal facts. On the cover, a young Negro in a French uniform is saluting, with his eyes uplifted, probably fixed on a fold of the tricolor. This is just the first level system, the basic sign. So let's break it down with a table. In the first system, the language system, you have the image itself, a black soldier saluting. That's the sign. But then it gets immediately snatched up by myth. That entire image becomes the form for a massive political concept, French imperiality. And what's the final message, the signification? It's this powerful, unspoken idea that France is a great empire, and all its sons, regardless of their skin color, serve it faithfully. All that complicated, controversial history of colonialism, it's suddenly presented as a simple, beautiful, natural fact. Okay, section 3, turning history into nature. This is the grand purpose of myth. So we've seen how it works, right? This whole layering of meanings. But the really crucial question, the big so what, is why does it work this way? What's the end game here? Myth, for Barthes, is what he calls depoliticized speech. And its main job, its entire purpose, is to take something that's totally historical, cultural, and political, something like the French Empire, and make it feel completely natural, as timeless and inevitable as the sun rising. It basically washes away all the messy context, all the controversy, and all the human decisions that got us here. And here's the thing, myth isn't trying to deny or hide things, not at all. As Barthes says, its function is to talk about them. But it purifies them, it makes them innocent. So it's not hiding the idea of French imperialism. Instead, it just presents it as a simple, obvious fact of life. That image of the soldier makes this whole complicated, messy history feel, well, innocent, self-evident. It just is. And this is exactly why Barthes calls it language robbery. It's such a powerful phrase. Myth literally steals the original rich meaning of a sign. Think about that soldier. He has a personal history, a biography, a whole life. But myth steals all of that and just uses the empty shell of his image for its own ideological goal. And myth has a whole arsenal of rhetorical tricks to pull this off. For instance, the inoculation, where you admit a tiny little flaw to hide a much bigger one. Or the privation of history, where something is presented as if it just popped into existence with no backstory. Then there's identification, which is about absorbing anything different by making it seem just like us. And, of course, there's tautology, that classic dead-end phrase, "it is what it is," which is designed to just kill any rational thought. Okay, last section, becoming a mythologist. So now that we have the secret decoder ring, what do? Barthes says we actually have a choice in how we read all the messages that are constantly being thrown at us. Basically, you've got 3 ways to play it. First, you can be the innocent reader. You just consume the myth as it's intended, and you see that soldier as a simple symbol of French greatness. Second, you could be the myth producer, the one who starts with the concept, like French imperiality, and then goes looking for a form to express it. Or, and this is the goal, you can become the mythologist. That's the person who sees both levels at once. You spot the distortion, and you see the myth for what it is, an imposture. Yeah, the whole goal of the mythologist is to decipher myth, not just to swallow it whole. Their power really comes from having this double vision. They're not just passive consumers of the world, they're actively decoding it, seeing exactly how a simple meaning is being ripped off to create a much bigger, and usually political, message. So when it all comes down to it, the key is learning to see those 2 levels of meaning at the exact same time. You see the literal thing on the surface, and you also see the myth that's been built right on top of it. Once you can do that, you've got this incredibly powerful tool for critical thinking. You can start to question all the things that just seem natural and ask, wait a minute, where did this idea really come from and who does it serve? So look, the big takeaway here isn't just some abstract theory. It's a whole new way of seeing the world around you. From headlines to advertisements, from political speeches to the design of a smartphone, myth is always at work, trying to turn something historical into something that feels natural. So now that you know the formula, the real question is, what myths will you uncover?